How can you live beautifully both inside and out? From mansions filled with art to a life devoted to giving, one man found the perfect balance. Hi everyone, Ken here. Today we're uncovering the many mansions of A. Lewisohn. Hit that subscribe button and let's explore this house. Lewisohn arrived in America in 1867 with a suitcase full of ambition and just enough family connections to get a foothold. Born in Hamburg, Germany, he was raised in a wealthy, devout Jewish household where education and enterprise were taken seriously. His father Samuel, a respected merchant, had built a legacy importing bristles, feathers, and other specialty goods, and expected his sons to uphold the family name. But Lewisohn had no interest in simply running a feather business. America was booming, electricity was dawning, and opportunity buzzed through the air like static. At just 18 years old, he landed in New York and joined his older brothers Julius and Leonard, who had already opened a branch of the family business on John Street in Lower Manhattan. What started as a bristle and feather importing firm soon became something much more electrifying. In the late 1870s, Lewisohn met a young inventor named Thomas Edison and saw the future with perfect clarity. Copper, once used primarily for cookware and cheap coins, was about to become the backbone of the electric age. Unlike many traditionalists in the industry, Lewisohn had the foresight and nerve to stake his fortune on the underappreciated metal. He began investing heavily in copper mining, particularly in Butte, Montana, an unpolished little mining town sitting atop what became known as the richest hill on Earth. He wasn't alone for long. Together with his brothers, he transformed Lewisohn Brothers into one of the most powerful forces in the copper industry. They built refineries, pioneered electrolytic smelting, and invested in major mining operations in Montana, Arizona, Tennessee, and even Colombia. They established the Miami Copper Company, the Tennessee Copper and Chemical Corporation, and helped found the United Metals Selling Company alongside William Rockefeller Jr. By the 1890s, the Lewisohns had earned the nickname the Copper Kings. At one point, just one of their mines was paying out $35 million a year in dividends, the equivalent of over $1 billion today. With more money than he could ever spend, Lewisohn declared that he had made all the money he wanted to make and turned his attention to the pleasures of life: fine art, classical music, philanthropy, and of course, palatial estates. He amassed a world-class collection of paintings, especially from the Barbizon and Impressionist schools. He adored opera and as an amateur baritone treated guests at his birthday parties to personal performances. He was also a vocal advocate for prison reform, public education, women's vocational training, and the arts, all while casually collecting rare books, manuscripts, and antiquities. But perhaps nothing revealed his success and fine taste quite like the houses he owned, and he certainly owned a few. In 1897, he purchased a brownstone at 9 West 57th Street in New York and spent a small fortune transforming the house from its dated 1870s exterior into a modern limestone-clad Beaux-Arts mansion with French balconies and grand interiors, which unfortunately may never have been photographed. By 1915, however, 57th Street was becoming too commercial for Lewisohn's taste. He commissioned renowned architect C.P.H. Gilbert to renovate 881 Fifth Avenue into his next home, a grand townhouse just across from Central Park. One newspaper reported that he spent $95,000 renovating the mansion, the modern equivalent of nearly $3 million. And from the moment you enter the home at the garden level, the price of renovations began to make sense. Heading up to the first floor, we step out into the hall where a grand marble staircase twists above us, with centuries-old tapestries hung on Kentstone walls. The ceiling of the hall is coffered until it meets a skylight soaring above the fireplace. To one side is the dining room, which has been erroneously labeled as his country house in various publications for the better part of a century. This room was clad floor-to-ceiling in richwood paneling, and if we look closely beyond the French doors, we can see natural light coming in from somewhere in the distance. This opens out to the conservatory, stretching towards the rear of the property, completely closing in what would otherwise have been a small backyard. Coming back around, we find the drawing room, complete with silk wall treatments and gilded detailing glistening in the low light of 4 chandeliers. Though equally as grand, the small salon nearby embraces a more traditional French aesthetic with painted wall panels and gilded plasterwork. With 4 floors spread out over 20,000 square feet, you could stumble upon massive, formal rooms such as the library, or even cozier and more relaxed spaces such as the breakfast room where Lewisohn and his wife could sit and spend time with their kids. And while I wish there were more photos of the ballroom to show you, this is the only one known to exist, though it was described as having space to accommodate 400 guests, a significant number for the New York elite. As mentioned, Lewisohn began collecting art and had a series of galleries constructed within his house. Though finished out with similar materials to create a flow, each gallery held distinct themes within their walls. Separate from the library, the rarest and oldest books were kept in bookcases below the works of Impressionist masters, and for anything deriving from the Modernist movement, he had a separate gallery known as the Modernist Suite, which almost seems impossible for a house of such architectural literacy. And if you loved 881 Fifth Avenue, his country estate Heatherdell Farm was something out of an Edwardian fantasy. Located in Ardsley, New York, the estate spanned 356 acres and included greenhouses, a private golf course, formal rose gardens, and a 40-room mansion designed by Coulter and Westhoff. The grounds were the work of landscape architect James Leal Greenleaf, who had designed the grounds of the Lincoln Memorial. Lewisohn adored flowers, roses in particular, and took great pride in his horticultural competitions. He even employed a full-time gardener, Ernest Grunwald, to keep Heatherdell Farm in bloom year-round, whether on the grounds or in the greenhouses. In 1912, President Taft even visited the estate just days after his failed re-election bid, offering a glimpse into the caliber of company Lewisohn kept. Very little documentation remains of the interior, however, the floor plan of the first level could help us imagine how the house once appeared. Though our tour of Heatherdell will be brief, we'll start in the library looking towards the foyer, getting just a glimpse of the room's woodwork livened up by fresh flowers in each vase. Passing by the staircase, we step up into the sunroom. With rustic stone walls and exposed beams, we might imagine that the rest of the house carried on this simple but timeless appeal. Heatherdell Farm wasn't his only country escape either. Lewisohn built one of the finest great camps in the Adirondacks. Prospect Point wasn't just a rustic cabin, it was a luxury compound with over 24 buildings connected by covered walkways. All designed by William Coulter, the main lodge featured fieldstone fireplaces, vaulted ceilings, and views across the lake that seemed painted by nature herself. There was electricity, running water, telephones, and even a boathouse for elegant outings. It was here, at his beloved lakeside camp, that he passed away peacefully in 1938 at the age of 89. Though known for his business brilliance and extravagant homes which have all since vanished, Lewisohn left perhaps his most enduring legacy through philanthropy. He gave millions to cultural, educational, and humanitarian causes. He helped establish the Hebrew Shelter and Guardian Society's Pleasantville Cottage School, funded the Mount Sinai Hospital Pathology Lab, donated $300,000 to build Columbia University's School of Mines, which is known today as Lewisohn Hall, and perhaps most famously, he funded the construction of Lewisohn Stadium at City College in Harlem. Opened in 1915, it became the summer home of the New York Philharmonic and hosted affordable concerts for the everyman to experience, the likes of Gershwin, Sinatra, and Armstrong. He firmly believed art and culture should be available to everyone and often said he found more joy in giving than in getting. Judging by the impact he made, he meant every word. In the end, Lewisohn didn't just build a fortune, he built a legacy. He was called New York's most useful citizen, not for his wealth alone, but for how he used it. He gave generously, thought deeply, and lived beautifully, balancing business with benevolence. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. Which of his homes did you like the most? Let me know down below in the comments section. And while you're there, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.